Yeah, hello, and welcome to our last GDTA Spotlight session in the year 2022. I'm welcoming all of you, our guests. I see a lot of familiar names here. We're still waiting for some others to arrive, but I think for those of you who are in time, we should start, and we have a dense program today. I think we are not able to make it in 30 minutes, which we're usually trying to do. And I would like to welcome all the new guests, maybe. My name is Weinberg. I'm the director of the School of Design Thinking in Potsdam in Germany. And also I have the pleasure to head up the Global Design Thinking Alliance, the GDTA, which is a network, a global network of like-minded design thinking institutions. We're 25 right now, and we are going to have about 30 pretty soon members in 5 continents, which is really a great pleasure. And yeah, welcome to our monthly spotlight. Actually, we didn't make it in November with our spotlight session because we were so busy with our Global Design Thinking Festival in September and October that we somehow skipped the one in November. But we have the December version, which is the last one. And I would like to, maybe we move to the next slide, Steffi. Yeah, some netiquette rules here. So you're hopefully all familiar with Zoom. Please use the chat if you like to ask questions during the talk. And usually we try to have about 30 minutes of talk and then 30 minutes of Q&A and discussion. Please switch off your microphone during the talks here, during the inputs. And we'll have a short recap of our Design Thinking Impact Conference, the 15th anniversary in Potsdam of the D School by myself. And then we dive into the Global Design Thinking Challenge, which was kind of the bridge between the Potsdam event in September and the d.confestival event in October in South Africa, in Cape Town. And that will be moderated by Jenni van Niekerk. And then we have 30 minutes, hopefully 30 minutes of an open discussion round. So let's give it a start. We're still welcoming new people here. Yeah, so what we thought, we discussed actually through 2021, we discussed how to celebrate 15 years anniversary of the D School in Potsdam. Usually what we did every 5 years was the d.confestival, the international conference, which started 2012 first time with about 800 participants from 30 different countries. At that time, no one was thinking of COVID. And also in 2017, when we celebrated the 10th anniversary, there was also, it was a very physical event. We had more than 1,000 people visiting in Potsdam. And both events, we didn't have a lecture hall large enough to host our activities. So we had to set up a circus tent and did a very impressive activity in this kind of temporary design thinking circus space. And that worked quite well. And so for the 15th anniversary, we were also thinking of a d.confestival in Potsdam. But then at the same time, the Hasselplattner Africa, the Hasselplattner D School in Africa was about to start their activities in their new building, which is fully dedicated to design thinking issues, and the first one on the planet. And so we thought it would be really, really a good idea to have our 3-day conference, the d.confestival, not in Potsdam, but in Cape Town. And since there is a new building, there is not the necessity to build up a circus tent. No, there was an incredible new facility which could be used. Yes, it's used for training students and professionals, but at the same time, it turned out to be a great festival place for partying, and doing concerts and getting together in a very loose way. So that was, and then we thought of how to build the bridge between Potsdam in September and the d.confestival in October. And we came up with the idea to start a global design thinking challenge. That is something what we are doing in Potsdam since several years now, the Global Design Thinking Workshop, where we include members from the Global Design Thinking Alliance as coaches, as students, and start with one dedicated challenge and try to work with lots of teams on the same challenge for a short amount of time in a design thinking mode to come up with great solutions. And this time, and you'll learn about that pretty soon by Claudia and Sherif, we were dedicating it to the challenge of how to bring design thinking into schools and also sustainability thinking into schools and how to do that with younger kids. And so that thing, the whole thing in September and October, we called the Global Design Thinking Festival. And it was really looking at the challenges we are seeing in the planet right now. It was 2 months of really exciting design thinking, proactive, positive thinking. And I really enjoyed being in Potsdam, being a part of the Global Design Thinking Challenge, and also being in South Africa, enjoying the great new space. So it was such a pleasure. But lots of you didn't have the chance to participate either in Potsdam or in South Africa. So we thought it would be a good idea to have a kind of review and give you some impressions of what happened there, show you some pictures, tell you some stories. And I'm not sure. Yes, maybe Steffi, we move to the slides with our DT impact. So to get some ideas of what we were doing in Potsdam, we did a 2-day kind of mini conference, focusing not too much on covering 15 years with having a lineup of all of our 2,000 students and several hundred coaches and 500 project partners, but actually try to find out what kind of stories and what kind of inputs could illustrate the impact we had through the past 15 years on humans, on individuals, but also on organizations, and also in the education field. And we had 360 participants. We did the first time this event in a hybrid mode, in a hybrid work mode, which means so we had lots of participants from who were not physically at our place, and we didn't have a circus tent, but we were using one of our new buildings, which is very close to the D School, and it offered a great opportunity with 2 larger lecture halls and presentation halls and smaller ones. We are actually using also the D School as a space. We had about 80 speakers and lots of presentations. Actually, at the end, we were planning to have a very small event, but there were so many interesting things handed over to as an input, so that we ended up to have a somehow large event. And Steffi who organized the whole event for all of us, and especially for Steffi, it was a big challenge to handle that, also in a new building with a new environment. And we are very happy also to welcome lots of alumni, people who haven't been at the D School since 10 years, reuniting with their co-students at that time, with the other alumni. And we had great experiences, and also for sure a nice party, especially for the alums, for the alumni. And yeah, so I overall liked very much our 2 days. And then we kicked off also the Global Design Thinking Challenge together with Siemens, with the Siemens Foundation, and with the patronage of the UNESCO. which was really helpful. And I hand over now to Claudia and Sherif, because they were managing the Global Design Thinking Challenge, which had a surprising outcome. I didn't expect that kind of, this kind of reception all around the planet. So I hand over to Claudia, Nicolai, and Sherif Osman, and please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Claudia Nicolai, working also with Uli at the D School, of course also Sherif, who is joining us now from another location. So I'm in Potsdam, Germany, and I'm the academic director of the D School here. Yeah, and Sherif, you want to also say some words about yourself at the beginning?
Yes, hello. So my name is Sherif. I'm from Egypt, and I'm dialing in from Egypt right now in my dad's apartment. So bear with me with the connection, because sometimes it's a bit temperamental here. It's a very, very old building. But yeah, I was the program lead and co-designer of the Global Design Thinking Challenge with Claudia. And yeah, looking forward to telling you a little bit about what happened and our reflections on what happened.
Yeah, so and to give it a bit of a start, what we did with this Global Design Thinking Challenge also on purpose, trying to create a learning experience throughout the globe with our partners also from the Global Design Thinking Alliance, that actually moves from the formal focus of design thinking on user centricity and creating just better products and services, to really create the future we'd like to live in terms of combining design thinking in terms of that human-centered approach with trying to design strategic futures. And for that purpose, as we are, as already got mentioned, an educational institution, we wanted to create that also as part of the whole journey with these partners in order to be able to have a memorable experience for them. So therefore, not only for this challenge, but also for other, I would say rather all activities we do here at the D School, we'll try to frame them within the Sustainable Development Goals. And for this one, for this challenge, we also decided to pick one as the Sustainable Development Goal number 4, that actually is, if you look at it, it's the upper part of that slide. I would say, or we would say rather outdated, because it focuses on quality of education. So with that challenge, we also wanted to take and shift that notion from the typical classical understanding of getting educated or educating somebody into the notion of learning. So that really means to look at everything that's offered from the learner's perspective in order how to do so. So therefore, with that challenge, we also had a bit of the meta objective to reframe the Sustainable Development Goal from education to learning, and also to try to be able, so you see the subline that also clarifies the goal a bit more, to ensure inclusive and equitable quality learning and promote lifelong learning opportunities and future skills for all. Because that's also something we find more and more of importance when it comes to create innovations within the educational sector, not just to think about creating learning opportunities, but creating learning opportunities that do tap into future skills around collaboration, creativity, communication, but also critical thinking, in order really to be able to address meaningful problems that are happening around the globe. And we did so, numbers we already mentioned, and with this, I'd like to hand over to Sherif, because he was not only the co-designer, but was also the blueprint creator and the really the network, like golden middle in terms of creating those ties to several different institutions. And that's also what we'd love to discuss with you later on, how to also tap into with design thinking into a not only diverse world, but also into diverse cultures.
Thanks, Claudia. Yeah, as Claudia mentioned, it was really interesting to collaborate, not just to kind of exchange on a presentation level, but really to work together as a group with 11 different institutions, 10 different program leads kind of co-designing. So that was really interesting to come up with a blueprint that kind of is generic enough to work for everyone, to be tweaked later and co-designed further for their own context. Because of course, every institution had different resources with regards to number of coaches, number of participants, whether it's on site, whether it's online, whether it's hybrid, and so on. And that was, to us, also a challenge to think about how to create this learning experience, not just this kind of learning content. So how could we think outside the box a little bit? Sorry for the cliche, but to really think about how to facilitate that learning content in a different way. And with this, we tried things like using podcasts for kind of, or video podcasts for informal learning, and having these informal discussions about deeper topics you typically don't cover in an input or a lecture. It was also interesting to see how quickly do you need the content and examples in order to contextualize that to your own local region, but also to your language in some context. So I think the program ran across 3 different languages simultaneously, with a version in China, but also a version in Spanish from the Latin American continent. And of course, it was a little bit tiring with the time zones and the logistical side, but I think the passion and excitement of all the people involved and how keen really people were about the challenge was really eye-opening. So this resulted overall in over 430 participants submitting 75 video pitches, which we were very surprised, but also not only kind of focusing on the tailoring of the content and the language, but really the challenge itself. So what is relevant in that context? And these are some examples or highlights from how different institutions reframed the challenges to better suit what they were trying to tackle, or how they reframed the SDG goal. I think we have some impressions from around, which we can maybe, so we can see here. So of course, it was very divided in how we worked hybrid, virtual, and online. We had cohorts that were based in different institutions, but we also tried to create moments where different institutions come together to share knowledge, but also to share where they were up to, exchange of different thoughts and ideas, surprises they found. And one of the interesting things was also how similar some of the educational problems were from around the globe. One final aspect as well I wanted to touch upon was, of course, the kind of outcome of this. So other than the really amazing public response, so we tried to position a lot of the content from the participants into video pitches, around 90 seconds long, which we placed on the website and presented a call for action to the community to vote on the ideas they'd love to see realized. And it was amazing to really see a response of over 130,000 views, 30,000 votes on some of these ideas, which was already a really big response in also, I might say, 4 days of voting. So it wasn't exactly that this was open for a huge amount of time. And during those 4 days, we also reached out to our network for expert jury, which then looked at different categories that the students have submitted ideas from. So we looked at most innovative global impact, global solution, and local solution, most creative pitch, but also highest potential for impact, and tried to also give the stage to the students and to the teams to present, whether on-site in Cape Town or virtually. And I think they kind of blew the stage away to kind of wrap together the d.confestival, which was really great to see. And it was inspiring to see that solutions came all the way from an edtech solution, for example, showing different heat map kind of approach to students' understanding of content, to give the teacher a better reflection on areas that may need to be revisited or feedbacked, all the way to reinventing the concept of a school on the go, with a school in a box, specifically targeting communities that are maybe in critical conditions, war zones, refugee situations, and so on. All the way to a whole new blueprint of learning coming from Brazil, but also from Cape Town. So if you're interested to see more of the solutions, the video pitches are all on the GDTC website as part of the GDTA website, which I believe we will share in the chat. And you could also check out some more details of who the participants are and the rest of the 75 pitches that were submitted.
Yeah, that was really interesting to see how many people were participating, actively participating all around the planet, and then also to see how many people were voting. We didn't expect more than 100,000 people to be interested, but for sure, for all of you who have kids, you know, there is a big concern, a big necessity really to rethink education. And now I want to hand over to Jenni van Niekerk. We just called her the Mrs. d.confestival because she was organizing so many, all the events, and I was really happy that she didn't lose the control actually, and she was still very happy during the 3 days, even if she had such a workload to handle. So please welcome Jenni van Niekerk in Cape Town.
Thank you so much, Uli, for that kind introduction. I must please immediately share the credit with the amazing team I was working with. I by no means organized it and held it together by myself. It was a real strong circle that was holding it. So yeah, really, and to take the torch from Potsdam and bring it to Cape Town, it was really significant moment for the world and the design thinking field, as many of the delegates and participants reflected, and also for the, you know, coinciding with the D School Africa moving into its new building. So yeah, we had 300 delegates on site and more than 100 online that joined in, and there were also individual logins online that were linked to lecture halls and classrooms and work office teams of groups, so even more reach than what we can count. And our participants were from more than 20 countries, which was really exciting. Our contributors, the speakers and facilitators of all the sessions, of which we had 53, came from 17 different countries, of which 6 of those were African countries. And of the 53 speakers, 23 were African. So that was quite a good highlight. We also had speakers from Latin America, Brazil, and Chile. And we had speakers from Asia and Europe, but predominantly our speakers were from South Africa and Germany. And really great to hear some alternative voices from new narratives coming from countries where design thinking is perhaps not as widespread and hasn't got the same level of maturity as we see in the US and in Germany. So yeah, the conference was really framed around celebrating, interrogating, and anticipating design thinking matters. So how does it matter? For whom does it matter? Where does it matter? When does it matter? And how can we really increase its significance and impact in a world that's facing so many complex challenges? And what was significant at the conversations at the d.confestival was bringing the narrative to the Global South and listening to the Global South, and especially from the African context, opening up a real interest and curiosity in what can the design thinking field globally learn from this continent? And when I say this continent, I mean in all its diversity. We have very diverse regions. Africa is not a country, as one good website conveys very clearly in helping us shift that thinking. So yeah, at the d.confestival, I'm going to share, if Steffi can please show for us from that overview, a video that was created as a recap.
Especially in times we are in right now, in the times of digital transformation, where a lot of companies, organizations, even governments are facing huge transformation driven by technology. It is always very important to see there is the cultural aspect and the social aspect, which needs also a transformation. And for this, design thinking is probably the most holistic approach.
So if I really look at it, it has changed a lot. Also with working with the D-School here, from trying to foster creativity into creating an environment where people can grow and then also become innovators, but also more importantly, change makers and the future leaders.
So now when we begin to shift the design thinking idea into our local communities, it will give us the chance to actually address local problems using indigenous knowledge system to be able to address problems in various sectors of life within the African context.
So the institution that I work at uses design thinking to improve its curriculum, and we are always updating. We are teaching our students how to use design thinking as well. So I believe that it is evident in our education.
In our African culture, with the spirit of Ubuntu, we are able to celebrate, anticipate, and together we can build a better world.
So we're chatting about how to pilot and embed and scale design thinking capabilities inside large, complex organizations. Sam and Jeanette joining as well. So very keen to hear what their experiences have been and lessons learned. Yeah.
I think the world of business is always trying to innovate, and design thinking provides just a methodology to really put that in practice and help people succeed. Design thinking is relevant regardless of industry. There's opportunities. Most organizations need to innovate no matter kind of what industry that you're in.
Very important aspect of design thinking. This is the working in teams. But teams are not just teams, teams are heterogeneous teams.
Design thinking has been this language to invite us into a different way of moving than we might, our habit of mind. In a way, the language of design thinking is a bit of a misnomer because it has almost nothing to do with thinking in the way that we understand it. A lot of what the design thinking practices are about, if you actually double click and look into them, are inviting us into a more embodied way of being. Whether it's to feel into another person and using our emotional intelligence to understand the needs that really matter. Design thinking ultimately is about moving in our most natural way.
It is very authentic to our African context. It's very familiar to the people in Africa and how we tell stories, how we invite conversations, how we work together as communities already. So there is this familiarity to design thinking on the continent that I think we should celebrate.
We have always lived with the environment as an extension of ourselves, understanding that we take care of it and it will take care of us. That was destroyed because being African was never accepted into the space of knowledge. And knowledge that will have sustained the world, that could have saved the world. African voices and African thinking was silenced. The D-School is a place where that thinking will not be silenced. We have destroyed the world by silencing that way of being, because that's the sustainable way of being.
With ICE, I felt like I was part of something bigger than myself. I had purpose with skills that are relevant to my future.
Well, there you have it. Thank you. Gosh, I get so excited seeing that video again. It was really an amazing 3 days. I'd love to know who was there that's in the chat right now, if we can get a show of hands using your reaction buttons. Or even there virtually. We had such a wonderful mix of technology with hybrid speakers and hybrid delegates. And yeah, I must say, the energy, as many people reflected on, you know, we did a I like and I wish exercise at the end, and people commented on how engaged and connected people were. And I think drawing on some real flavors, textures, rhythms of Africa helped us create that at the event. There was music, there was dancing, there was opportunities for connecting and looking another person in the eye and saying "Sawubona," meaning I see you, you know, and really bringing your authentic self into the room and asking, why am I here? Why did I come to this event? And what have I got to contribute going away from here? And that's something I think we can really celebrate from this event, was that it was just the beginning. There were a lot of seeds planted for ongoing conversations, new relationships were built, networks created. In fact, there was a strategic session held among guests from North, East, South, and West Africa who are now beginning an African collaboration network for expanding the teaching, learning, and research about design thinking on the continent. And this means, as you know, people reflected, and I'm going to go into some of these images from our graphic harvester, you know, real reflections on cultural humility and how we must unlearn some of what we know in order to really discover how we should be working with communities in these complex times. So there we go. This is the wonderful work of our graphic harvester. So some real highlights. We had Professor Hasso Plattner himself live at the event in conversation with Richard, drawing on some of his older stories and adding new nuances to it, but really encouraging people to trust ourselves, really talking to the student world and to education, looking at Africa, solving its own problems, you know, starting to really work with heterogeneous teams, bringing people together. We then had a wonderful conversation tracking some of the evolution of the design thinking movement from the beginnings at Stanford, where we had Bernie Roth and George Kemble discussing how things evolved when it grew in Europe with Claudia and Uli's contributions, and then what it means landing it in Africa. And with this, we were celebrating, you know, how the network now amplifies its reach and its richness through going global, and with that celebrating the 5 years of the Global Design Thinking Alliance. So we then had some wonderful a panel discussion around design thinking in cross-cultural contexts, which you can see here. Wonderful contributions from Mana Tahiri and Felix Darte and John Lam, who's experienced in Germany and China, and really reflecting on, and Hoda Mustafa, of course, from Egypt, the need for this cultural humility as we work in different contexts and need to unpack relationships of power and positionality and privilege when we are practicing design thinking, bringing diversity and inclusion into our awareness and prioritizing that. Yeah, so I won't spend too much time on all this. We had some great parallel sessions, which you can see here from Chile, looking at how design thinking toolkits were used for small and medium farmers through COVID, when they had to get very innovative and work via radio instead of face-to-face. A team innovation game from the Launch Labs team, which was lots of fun. Here we heard from the Young Designers Circle of the World Design Organization, looking at design thinking in mental health. And we had a challenging talk from GK van Patter, who was looking at rethinking design thinking and helping us interrogate our biases and what kind of thinking we bring to the process. A wonderful session in the afternoon had Jean Liedtke with Scott Weiss in conversation, facilitated by Richard Perez, and here looking at in complex systemic challenges such as in the public sector or social development agencies, how can we design for these extremities, create accessible environments, and this theme of trust and psychological safety came up a lot. To bring, create psychological safety for people to really share themselves and their insights. So that is some of day one. I'm going to stop sharing that and show you day two. Right, so I'm just going to hone in on some of the highlights. We had Sam Yen and Paul Steenkamp and Jeanette Modise from South Africa talking about their experiences of leadership mindsets and personality trait needed for introducing and scaling and mainstreaming design thinking in large businesses. And they brought a lot of insights to that, really focusing on people and culture and understanding context so importantly, and not just the tools of design thinking, helping people who are not just lonely soldiers, but bringing success stories and widening that everybody in the organization can become more kind of better team workers, but also more aware of their customer or client. Yeah, and then a big theme on this day was this introduction to the concepts of Ubuntu, which essentially means I am because we are. And people really reflected and enjoyed understanding the parallels there are between the philosophy or spirit of Ubuntu and design thinking, and seeing how there's some familiarity already in the cultural traditions of Africa about working in teams, co-creating solutions, collaborating, thinking about the community's benefits rather than just mine as an individual. So this brings a very powerful way to frame leadership and build trust. So this was a really great introduction for many people and reflection. So then we went off on design thinking tours. Sorry, there were some other parallel sessions, really more than one that involved the body, understanding embodied knowledge and the body as its role in our creative confidence and as a design tool. We looked at some a rapid reframing exercise around the refugee challenges we're facing, and rural Africa, understanding digital inequity. And then we heard from the D-School Africa itself and some of the insights and experiences in cross-disciplinary contexts, and some wonderful experiences from some of our alumni and coaches about the kind of work they're doing. Nyla reflecting on this collaboration with the health sciences faculty. Yeah, and then this wonderful illustration shows where we all went off on tours and people could experience innovation in action in the city. That was day two, which ended with the most fabulous party many of us have experienced in years, with the official opening of the D-School building, where we went from conference setting to party setting. It felt like a nightclub, and there were different rooms and scenes and so much great fun. Everyone was dancing like nobody was watching. Right, I'm going to show you then the last day. Right, there we go. A wonderful morning with George Kemble, who was really humbled by everything that has been learned in South Africa, that opens us up to new wisdom for the design thinking world. Really drawing on our cultural wisdom, moving beyond our cognitive mind and into emotional mastery, spiritual mastery, really being present and being comfortable with emergence. We then had some wonderful parallel sessions with the Yux Academy, reflecting on how they have adapted their design thinking learning and teaching in the African context, which was really fascinating, leads the way to many more learnings. We looked at empathy and many different facets thereof. We looked at design thinking and data science, contributions from Daniele De Paula's research in how data science and design thinking insights can create such a rigorous set of insights. And then we looked at transforming communities with another session there. So we then got into a really interactive session of World Cafe methodology, where we reflected on teaching and learning. Given all this new way of looking at design thinking, how might we go about creating out-of-the-box learning in action in Africa in 4 different sectors? So people were invited to go off into the sector that they felt most passionate about, and those were corporate business, social development, the public sector, and youth entrepreneurship. And in those, we had a lot of wonderful engagement in small groups, and then harvesting the insights from that to show how important it is. And some of those insights in very brief summary were about really listening, telling design thinking stories, empathizing, finding champions in organizations, and building trust. So, and there we called for people to share what they wish to contribute. What are they being called to do moving from this event forward? And so these are some of the insights that we got here. Yeah, so we had the Vice Chancellor of UCT sharing a wonderful keynote there, which we saw a snippet of in the video, really bringing about, emphasizing that Africa's voice needs to be heard and that the D-School Africa is positioned to help do that. And there we had, which I won't go into, but the Global Design Thinking Challenge, where we had the teams, the top teams presenting, which was so insightful to get these voices from around the world. And the closing remarks, just really some of the very few of the sharings that people brought, and just, yeah, overall just real happiness and appreciation and inspiration for what happened over the 3 days. Yeah, and so I've probably gone over my time, but that is a recap of the d.confestival Cape Town 2022. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jenny, and also the team over there in Cape Town. Ferhat is here, and he did a great job also in communicating to the d.confestival to the outside world. Yeah, thanks for getting all those memories, bringing back all those memories into my brain with the nice drawings and all the stories. Yeah, thanks. We are a little bit over the 30 minutes, but that was expected because we had a lot to share. So I would like to ask all of you to switch on your videos if you like, and if your line allows, and then we can use the next 15 minutes or so for Q&As, for your remarks, for people who have to share some impressions. Maybe some of you who have been there share some additional impressions, and maybe you have some questions about what is coming up next in 2023. So I see some familiar faces. Nizia, Katja, Nalin, also from India, is there. Mats from Denmark. No, from Sweden, actually. How can I mix that up? From Sweden, from Stockholm. There, Sebastian. So, Wolf from Berlin. Kathy, I'm not sure. So, any additional remarks and questions? Actually, Nalin, SNS was, I was really happy to see 2 of your team members really actively joining in South Africa, and we had great discussions, and also to see your school participating in the Global Design Thinking Challenge very actively. So that was great to see.
Yeah, I have a few points to actually share with the members out here. Can I?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so delightful. I couldn't actually join it. So 2 of my members, they had a blast, and the entire crew who had hosted the entire show, and also your energy out there was phenomenal. There is no single moment they actually commented like this is a next home that they felt, both of them, and wherever they went, your energy and your welcoming messages, and everybody out there, they felt the energy even after they actually landed down here. Almost like for the last 2-3 weeks, they've been talking this, that, all those things, and phenomenal efforts. It's not just 1 day or 2 day efforts. I think it should have taken a year of efforts. A great applause to everybody. True appreciations from SNS. True appreciation.
Thank you very much. It's very, very nice. Thank you. Yeah.
I must, Darlin, it was so wonderful to meet your colleagues and to have them here. I was so grateful that we had them, and we had a wonderful time indeed.
Oh, Jenni, you've been very, very helpful at the last minute. We've been exchanging at the tip of the minute. So you, Richard, everybody was actually so helpful. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to next year when I come and visit SNS in India in the summertime, hopefully.
Absolutely, absolutely. When I said it is Jenni who helped all the time, they were thinking that there'll be a small girl intern or something like that, and then they saw even a prettier girl than a small girl. So thanks a lot. And I'm looking forward to see you in summer, Professor.
Yeah.
With the family.
With the family, yeah. Yeah, any Nisia.
Well, I would
hope
like
I
to
pronounce
share...
your name right. I'm sorry.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I would like to share with you that I was participating in all 3 events, all online, and it's amazing. I think you should keep doing the hybrid version of everything, because I would not be able to participate if it wasn't for that. And really, the Africa, the School Africa is amazing. It's incredible to get your energy through the video. You know, it's really feel very great, and I'm very upset that I didn't go there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much also for that feedback from about the hybrid activities, because it was actually a lot of energies at both sides to make it hybrid. To make a physical event is already eating up a lot of energy. To make a pure digital event is also quite intense. But to combine both, that was we thought it will be a good idea, and you are with your comment here. I think we should really continue in that way of putting a lot of effort in bringing together the digital crowd all around the world together with the physical people attending. And I think also we got, especially from Africa, with the new building, I had the feeling that a lot of people participating virtually still had a very good impression with the new architecture, and got the chance to just be there. And Katja has something. Katja Chimmel.
Yeah, hello everybody. Just to say that I'm very unhappy that I haven't been in South Africa. I've been in the first ComFestival in Potsdam, which was wonderful. And actually what I think these kind of meetings are for me, I mean, I'm really in design thinking, in academic and organizational realities, but for me it was a really good opportunity to network, to knowing what is happening worldwide. And that's actually why I joined today, because, yeah, my question actually was how to be more involved in this global design thinking alliance. So what could I do from here? And sharing with you that I would love to apply more design thinking in research. We did some projects there, and we're always looking, or I'm looking for people who also did that to exchange actually experiences. So yeah, that is my question.
So yeah, as you know, the GDTA is an organization with is a network of organizations and not of individuals. Yet we are actually in 2023 we are thinking of opening up also the membership issues, but that is not done yet. But you are involved in maybe you tell us a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, but there I have two organizations in my background. I'm a professor in Porto University and in the Porto Business School.
Yeah.
And I have a consultancy, Mindshake, with a focus on creativity and design thinking, working in different kind of industries, so with different kind of organizational clients. And also I'm part of a research unity in the University of Aveiro, together with Porto University. So actually there are some institutions behind it. And there's a project here with some people to create also a kind of design thinking center, or so some people are involved in that. So actually but perhaps I can speak with you in another opportunity. Perhaps this is here not the right place. I don't know.
Yeah, that is what I would recommend, that we have set up a meeting afterwards, and you tell us a little bit more about your activities, and then about the membership, possible membership of the Porto University at the GDTA. I think there should be not too many reasons speaking against it. You know, it's pretty good.
Okay.
There is so let's set up a meeting. Maybe get in touch, send me an email, or at info@gdta.org. It also reaches several people. Yeah, and then we set up a Zoom call. Mats.
Yes, thank you. Just a short comment. I was there digitally, and due to the financial situation right now at our university, I couldn't go even how much I wanted. So it's very great to have a hybrid conference, and big thank you to the organizers. It was like feeling you were almost there. It was one of the absolutely very best hybrid conferences I've ever seen. But one thing, maybe one tip is since you have these parallel seminars, maybe you could have one or two that are digital only, and you can also have one or two that are on-site only, because it's sometimes hard to participate equally in these more live discussion seminars when you are online. So maybe if there were one or two digital only, or there was a digital only version and an on-site only version of some of the discussion seminars, we might have felt even more there. But that was a minor point. It was a great event.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that appreciate that that comment, and that encourage us even more to move in this direction and to think of hybrid events on a larger scale. So Nalin was next.
Yeah, I actually missed to extend our sincere appreciation to Sherif and Claudia. They have been also very, very crucial and critical, and helping my entire team of faculty members to get them trained for the Global Design Thinking Challenge, and very, very responsive in even the smallest details my team was actually stuck with. So great applause to both of them. Thanks a lot to them. And also I happened to see, if I pronounce it wrongly, Mindshake, that is like a jazz presentation, which was forwarded to me by one of Moscow's program coordinator yesterday. It was a wonderful presentation. Thanks a lot for having such a wonderful presentation as well.
Thank you, Nalin. Claudia.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you. I just wanted also to come back to the point that Mats also made. Yeah, I think I do absolutely agree with you about this hybrid format that kind of makes it sometimes really difficult because fully immersion is not possible also from both sides, right? Also today I moderated a session and I also forgot at a certain point in time about the online participants because you're on site. So I think this is, as you said, maybe also a good idea to have some more like events, of course, that allow these interactivities happening. But I also agree this great online and great on-site experience sometimes does not go together in this reflex. And I think also, Sherif, that's something we learned from also from the Global Design Thinking Challenge. No? So you already mentioned like not the difficulties, but of course there's the time differences comes into play, but also having kind of this like local safe space in terms of bringing people together who know each other maybe a bit better already or understand each other a bit more easily because they share the same cultural roots can also help to grow in this way.
Thanks also, Claudia. Jenni, there's also Boytu Nkonde was writing a very positive note here in the chat about this session here. Maybe you want to speak also?
Yeah, I can turn my camera briefly. As somebody who considers themselves fairly new into design thinking, this is like 3 years down the line. It's interesting to see conceptually what can be brought to light through the programs that not only the schools run, but also just from like a knowledge sharing perspective. I think from my perspective, I mostly manage the programs that we do run for some of the corporates. And it's an incredible feat to be able to create thinking environments for those teams, and also just whether we're in person, getting them to use the stickies, but also virtually getting them to use the Miro software. It's changed how I perceive ideas coming to life, but also creating environments for people to feel empowered in their roles, so being able to attend something like this was like a really incredible opportunity for me. So I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to listen to.
Thank you for sharing that. Jenni.
Boytu, I'm so glad you put your camera on and that you've shared this in the chat and speaking. Thank you for that. It's really wonderful to hear. I'd love to know who you work with, which organization?
We're called Better Work. So at the moment, the managing directors are Vincent Hoffman and Palisa Sebego, and I'm their program manager. We've had the opportunity to work with organizations like Anglo, where they're trying to basically migrate from almost like old structures of how things run to being more inclusive of millennials and Gen Zs coming into their workspace. Obviously, that requires a new way of approaching not only how they communicate with those new people in their workforce, but also how do we get people to think more broadly. So initially, those programs are run virtually, obviously using Miro or Teams and Zoom. And the tool of Miro itself, it makes it much more easy to bring people in a room, but there's also so much that comes with like the physical environment of actually people seeing the ideas going on the board. And for me, that's changed how I also communicate or create thinking environments, not only for my colleagues, but for my friends as well, because these are tools that they're not necessarily familiar with, but it's an enlightening experience to take them through, let's say, what we call workshops or coaching sessions, to develop an idea from just being a concept to going through many experiments that they can try in their own spaces and then provide feedback on what next steps could possibly be.
That's fantastic. Nice to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So usually we end up in after 1 hour, after 60 minutes here with the official part, and also stop the recording, the official part. And if I see several people were leaving already, maybe we have a slide for our next spotlight session, Steffi, or as a final?
No, we don't, but it's January 26th. But we haven't confirmed the speakers yet.
Yes, January 26th. We'll confirm the speakers tomorrow in our quarterly GDTA event, where all the members are sitting together and trying to think about 2023. So I'm really thankful to all your contributions here, actually, to set up, to bring the Global Design Thinking Festival to life in Potsdam with the Global Design Thinking Challenge all around the world, and then with the d.confestival in Cape Town, and reporting on it and actually sharing all your insights and videos, pictures, and thanks a lot for all the participants. And I would like to officially close that session now, and I'm looking forward to next year. So great end of the year to all of you, great celebrations who are celebrating Christmas, and a great start into 2023. I'm looking forward to see new members also coming up, and hopefully Katja will get a chance to speak before the end of the year. And thanks to Steffi for and also to Ferhat, who already left, for setting up the session here. And thanks to all of you. Have a great rest of the day, or starting day, or end of the night, or whatever you are experiencing right now. So thanks a lot, and see you soon. Bye bye. Tschüss.